All right, guys, welcome back. The subject of today's video is turbocharging a International Harvester 986. Now, don't let the title fool you or the subject matter. This isn't a how-to step-by-step. This is more or less a video. The previous owner had turbocharged this tractor already. This video is basically just to show you guys what the finished result will look like and some of the things you'll have to do if you decide to do something like this. All right, guys, so I had taken this half of the hood off here. I wanted to check the air filter. It looks pretty darn clean considering I haven't changed it at all. Both the inner and outer filters are really look good, so I don't see any sense in changing them. All right, so this is the D436 engine in a 986. The DT, of course, is the DT436 is your, hang on a second. Anyway, okay, so the DT436 would be in your 1486 and your 1586. However, the cubic inch on a 986 is the same as those. However, the 986 was not factory turbocharged, but you put a turbo on a 986 and you got a pretty similar configuration to the 14 and 1586. I've covered that a whole bunch of times. So if you have this engine, what do you have to do to make it a turboed engine? There's a couple things here. First of all, this has the muffler delete. You can see that pipe right there. That's the muffler delete pipe. I don't know if that's a factory delete pipe, a part that you can order. It looks pretty darn good. I mean, it looks like it was manufactured. There's a brace right there in between and a bracket to bolt to the pedestal there on your manifold. And it looks like a piece you can buy. I think you can buy that part. I don't think somebody made that. I could be wrong, but of course your muffler would be in this general area right in here. But this has the muffler delete. With the turbo, I'm not sure what it's going to look like, a muffler with the turbo, but I'm sure there's definitely a way you can make it work in here if you want to keep your factory muffler. A muffler for this tractor is $400 or $500, so while it's a little noisy, hearing protection is a lot cheaper than buying a muffler to put in here. So anyway, so that is the exhaust portion of it, how it will look. It just comes off of the exhaust side on the turbo. It's an elbow that goes right up out the top, and you have bolts there to bolt to the exhaust manifold pedestal there. So that's what the exhaust on this looks like. Yours may be a little different with a muffler, but it is doable because the 10 and the 14 and 15 factory came with a turbo and a muffler. All right, coming around to this side of the engine, this exhaust manifold was changed. You will need a manifold that will support the turbo. The original 986 manifold, of course, did not have the turbo place to put a turbocharger. There's the original factory manifold. You just had the holes off all 6 cylinders and the exhaust poured out the top. So you'll need a manifold. There's a 2-piece manifold, the original one that's on there. And on here, of course, it is still a 2-piece. It tends to leak at this spot a lot of times, but the manifolds I don't think are very expensive, all things considered, especially for the age of the tractors. Okay, so you have your manifold installed, you have the old one off, the new one on. You'll need a turbo, of course, but what you'll need is a way to feed oil to the turbo. There is an inlet and an outlet on your turbocharger to feed oil. Of course, turbos need oil to stay well lubricated, and these gaskets tend to leak at times. Luckily, this one is not. Right there is the inlet. See, it goes in the top there and out the bottom here. That is the outlet for the oil. It's very important to have oil to a turbocharger to stay lubricated. Without it, it will not last 5 minutes. So where did they tap this tractor to get the inlet and the outlet for the oil, you might ask? Okay, your inlet, it's down here on your oil filter base. To anybody that's not familiar, these are your 2 oil filters. This is your block here that supports them. And here, right here, I don't know if on the turboed if there is a port right there. You could have a plug in there. I'm not familiar. I don't have one in front of me, and I can't remember from when I was at the dealership. But either way, right there should be a plug that you can remove. Then you're going to need an elbow. Then you can run your line. Now this line is bent a certain way. It goes up and it loops up around, so it fits in there. I suppose if you were pretty good, you could make that line, which I wouldn't be afraid to make it. But if you can buy it used from like a parts tractor dealer, or even just get that line, I'd go that route. The more and more I'm looking, easier is better, even if you could make it yourself. But anyway, you're going to need that line, and that's where the oil is drawn from your oil filter base here, at least on this one. Okay, so your return line, which is right there. All right, so that's going to come off the bottom of the turbo with 2 bolts. Again, those gaskets tend to leak. That's a pipe that comes down, and right here in the side of the engine, again on the non-turboed version, there should be a port there that you can remove a plug. You're going to need an elbow that threads in, and then that's a very simple connection. All that is a oil hose and 2 clamps. So that's where the oil will return into your engine off of your turbocharger. So that's how it's done on this tractor here. All right, so now we can talk about the turbo itself. You've got your manifold installed. You've got your exhaust all hooked up. You've got your turbo. Your turbo just mounts to the manifold right there using 4 bolts and a gasket. Now again, that's another place where it tends to leak exhaust. Working with exhaust is never fun. You need a torch, and in a lot of cases you're going to break the bolt. So if it's threaded in there on any manifold, usually you're drilling, and I've done it so many times. But you're going to bolt your turbo right there. So on these tractors here, you have an air horn here, basically, is what I like to call it here. This rubber hose here at the top above your radiator. Your air is coming in the front of the tractor, going into this air horn here and into your air filter. Now that's where, again, your old 986 air box is too small. I think this diameter is smaller. This is the old air box. Again, if you want to make this conversion, you're probably going to look at getting an air box. I don't know what's that's from. If that's from a 1086 or a 1486, again, your used parts dealership would be the place to go. But this was changed on the tractor. You can see here where it used to bolt fast. And on this one, usually pretty similar, I'm guessing. No, this looks a little different. You're going to use the bolts up front here for the bracket. Either way, it's going to fit. They're all the same. You're going to need a bigger air box. So again, air comes in through the filter and into the turbo. And then on your outlet here on the turbo, where it's going to actually put the air into the intake manifold, that is, I'm sure you're going to need that piece too. Yeah, this mounted probably, yeah, this mounted to the side of the engine, not in the front. So you'll have to reorient the mounting for this. And this air horn, I don't know, like I say, without a non-turboed in front of me, I don't know if this has got to be changed. Again, you can get used parts from your used parts dealer or online. But yeah, this piece here, I'm not too sure about how it is on the non-turboed. So once that's all installed, there's a bracket here that comes off right there, that comes off this side. There's a bolt, and then it comes up, and then it holds and supports this exhaust pipe here where it goes out the top to give it some stability. This does not rattle or shake around. It's important to have that. And again, I don't know how the configuration was. It'd be nice if I had a non-turboed in front of me, but I don't. But you guys get the point. So that's basically going to be the conversion here, what it's going to look like when it's all done. Again, this is just your port for your ether can, which I don't need ether for this tractor. So again, getting a filter, I'm going to have to look this is a fleet guard. I'm going to have to look that number up to see what application it fits, if it's a 10 or a 14. I don't know if the 1086 and the 1486 takes the same air filter. I can't remember, but have to look into that whenever I do decide to change it. So for as dusty as it looks like outside here, that filter looks like it's brand new yet. So And then that should be it, as long as you're sure that you have oil circulating. You don't want to hook it up. I remember a guy had changed something on his turbo, and he had a blockage in the pipe, or something was wrong with his inlet. It wasn't drawing enough oil, and he burned a turbo out pretty quick. So there is a little bit to this. Like I say, it's not just a quick, it's a lot of matching up pieces from different models, but again, International Harvester, they're pretty well universal from one to the other. As far as the turbo, putting a used turbo on, I wouldn't be afraid of it as long as the impeller is solid and there's no major leaks. You could get away with a used turbo depending on how much you're going to use the tractor. I don't know if this was brand new. I don't know where the parts were taken from for this, if it was all used, a used setup that somebody had and just put on. Without knowing the history, I don't know, but that's basically what it's going to look like. That's basically turbocharging D436, making it a DT436. Again, I had talked about this in the past a while ago. Now 1486 has a larger oil pan, so there's more oil capacity. I didn't change the oil pan. This is still a 986 factory oil pan. Probably, I'm guessing part of it is the 14 was for real heavy tillage and harder pull applications, and with the turbo, you're going to want a lot more oil capacity to keep the oil cooler. I'm guessing that's some of it probably. If I ever need an oil pan gasket for this tractor and need to take it down, I'm probably going to get the 14 oil pan and put it on. But for the time being, changing oil pretty often in this thing, probably more than would be necessary. So that's it right there. That's what it looks like. And then of course, don't forget when you're done to do what I decided to do, and make sure you install your turbo decal on the hood. The whistle gives it away. Everybody knows it's turbocharged, but again, that was the finishing touch there to a project like this. So like I said, new airbox, new manifold, and a little bit of plumbing here and there, and you can have yourself a turbocharged 986. All right, just one more real quick thing. You will be adding more power to your engine, so you're going to have to watch your drivetrain then. I was told that this did get a new clutch. It did get the flywheel was changed, and it also has a heavier duty clutch from a 1086. So that's one thing to watch. You're going to have more power up front. You're going to have to watch your drivetrain. I think the 986 drivetrain OEM would probably handle a turbo as long as you're not in a constant heavy tillage thing year round. If you're just looking to do other stuff, it probably would, if I would say. But I was lucky that this was upgraded, so it could take the extra horsepower. So that is one thing to consider. So the practicality, again, it's only going to make sense for you if you have the parts laying around, and it's a fairly inexpensive job if you have all the pieces. So, all right, guys, I will see you on the next one here. Hopefully we'll be at harvest by then.